with John Cena expected to make his WWE return and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for April 15th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Promoter of Game Changer Wrestling Brett Lauderdale recently shared a photo with Stephanie McMahon as he was invited to WrestleMania. There could be more to this, as Dave Meltzer noted in The Observer that WWE could have eyes on GCW's Bloodsport, where there are no ropes or turnbuckles and every match must end by KO or submission. Lauderdale on his podcast said that the biggest wrestling company in the world has expressed interest in the Bloodsport brand. That's interesting based on their being so public about being negative about the idea of promoting the term blood. In addition, WWE doesn't exactly do shows like that, but I could see the idea of the library for Peacock as something offbeat they could use. He said there had been discussions. He also said that Stephanie McMahon invited him to WrestleMania on Sunday, put him in a suite, and came by to say hi, and said a lot of nice things about GCW. Following his win over Omos at WrestleMania, Bobby Lashley would not celebrate long as his manager MVP turned on him and is now siding with his former opponent. On his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T gave his thoughts on this. "It's not for me to like it or not. I thought the Hurt Business did some really good work, with MVP at the helm throughout the pandemic, and definitely put a light on that group. I really believe MVP was the spark behind Bobby Lashley. I really do. I always thought perhaps Bobby needed the front man to actually do that part of the work for him. Then he'd go out and be the cleanup man in the middle of that ring. As far as Lashley, I think I said it about a month ago. It looks to me like they were building Bobby up to be something extraordinary. Lashley right now, of course, he can be looked at as the babyface. We were just talking about who's going to be the guy to challenge Roman. I don't know. I'm just saying, if I was a booker, I would perhaps see it that way. For Bobby to be that babyface, MVP can't be there at the helm. He just can't be there. He can't be flanking Bobby if that's what route we're going. Omos is definitely a person that may need a little help in that department as well. I think MVP is definitely the right man for that job right now that he's doing. When the news of his departure from WWE came out, fans felt it was only a matter of time before Jeff Hardy joined AEW. With him now a part of the promotion, he spoke on Mark Andrews' podcast about how he struggles balancing his life at home with his career. It can be tough sometimes, especially before the pandemic. They're getting back to that now, and it can be hard especially with kids. My wife has been my lifesaver. She's about my spirit, she's my God, she's my everything. Like all the stuff I've been through in my personal life, and she's stuck by my side. Oh my gosh, she has been amazing. Now we have two beautiful little girls, the Hardy girls, 11 and 5. Speaking to Fightful, AEW star Adam Cole was asked about potential dream matches for him in the promotion, to which he said it hasn't happened yet, but CM Punk is my huge dream opponent. Because again, I've made it very clear that for me personally, he was one of the most impactful professional wrestlers as far as inspiration goes. I remember seeing him in Ring of Honor, and again watching his promos and going, I really want to focus on getting good on the microphone because of listening to him talk, and then I thought, okay, he retired. It's never gonna happen. Now the fact that it's a possibility, I mean, I can't get it out of my head. I know that someday it has to happen. I hope so. I really hope so. Touching on his time with NXT, Cole mentioned the bond he formed with Triple H. I made it very apparent and very clear for a very long time, both during my time in NXT and post NXT, that I think the world of Triple H. I learned so much from him. He was a huge mentor to me. So to get that news was really disheartening because I know how much professional wrestling means to a guy like Hunter. However, at the same time, his health is the most important thing, and his family is the most important thing. So I'm glad that he's able to take care of himself and make sure he needs to do what he has to do to get on that track. So truth be told, with the way stuff has been going lately, I'm just happy he's okay. But yeah, I mean, everything that he's given to the wrestling industry and the wrestling business will never be forgotten, whether it be his in-ring career or the countless amount of people he's influenced with NXT and the countless people he's taught within NXT. So I love Triple H. I admire the hell out of him, and I'm glad he's alright. While this ruling has now been lifted towards the end of 2020, WWE instated a ban on stars in their company earning money through platforms like Twitch and Cameo. During that same interview, Adam Cole would explain how he continued streaming despite this. So yes and no is the best way I could put it. Like, it was in some ways mentioned to me about, Twitch maybe being a problem, and then I kind of gave them my 2 cents. In the sense of, I'm not using Adam Cole. I'm wearing video game t-shirts, I don't curse on my streams. I was very, very careful thinking. If there is a 7-year-old WWE fan watching me play this game, I don't want them to go, oh my god, Adam Cole said what? I was very, very careful that, and I still institute that to this day, even with AEW. But what I kind of, in a lot of ways, again, made it clear to this person that Twitch was something that I really did not want to give up and was not willing to give up, and fortunately for me, they kind of just let that slide, and just said, okay, alright, we're just gonna let it go. And then I managed to continue to stream on Twitch. In a Texas deathmatch on AEW Rampage, Adam Cole will face off against Hangman Page in hopes of capturing the world title. After defeating Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania to become the undisputed champion, Roman Reigns is reportedly going to continue appearing on Raw and SmackDown. It was additionally noted by WrestlingNews.co that there are still no plans for him to lose the title anytime soon. Some in the company have speculated that he will hold the title through next year's WrestleMania. The hope is that The Rock will come back for one final match, and by that point, the company would start pushing Reigns as the greatest of all time. While there have been rumors of a future WrestleMania match between Roman Reigns and The Rock, Booker T suggested that Cody Rhodes should win the titles from him, with the idea that Reigns could have them back in time for the showdown with Rock. Given the recent clash at Mania, many were expecting to see Brock Lesnar make an appearance at WrestleMania Backlash and challenge Roman Reigns. For the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer said there were never plans for Lesnar to have a match at that pay-per-view, with him not being booked for the show. However, he is being advertised for the SummerSlam Premium Live event and is set to be a part of Money in the Bank. If you've been paying attention to WWE programming, you may have noticed that a lot of superstars have gone through name changes recently. While this is seen as a normal occurrence, apparently Vince McMahon sent a memo which specified that talent no longer use their real names or names they've used on the independent circuit. It was previously noted that Austin Theory had his name changed due to his interaction with Steve Austin at WrestleMania, yet the Observer says he is going by just Theory because his real name is Austin White. Raquel Gonzalez recently made her debut on the main roster as Raquel Rodriguez, since her last name is actually Gonzalez. Many were not happy with Walter having his name changed to Gunter, but Walter is his real name. Meltzer would go on to note in The Observer that Raul Mendoza is a WWE name, except Raul really is his first name, so he had to ditch it. As it always the case, the memo only applies to people who are newer, and who they decided it applies to. Randy Orton isn't going to change to Frank Trevino, and Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey don't have this apply to them. It would be nutty if Riddle has to change his name because Riddle really is his last name, but it looks like this applies mostly to people just coming to the main roster, and this doesn't apply to Cody Rhodes. Humberto Carrillo isn't a push name, but his real first name is Humberto. Pete Dunne had to be Butch. As for Marcel Martel, who knows past somebody didn't like the name since it was a WWE owned name that he never used until WWE. But from this point forward, they don't want anyone new using former names from elsewhere or real first or last names, except if you're Gable Steveson, and this will change soon enough like it always does. After coming up short in his match against Roman Reigns at SummerSlam last year, John Cena would note that he would be seeing fans soon. Recently, it was reported that he could be making his return in the summer, with Brad Shepard saying on his Unleashed Patreon. I spoke with a source in WWE Today and they told me John Cena is expected back in late June of this year. I don't have a more specific time frame or the creative plan yet, but I do know he'll be showing his face. The Money in the Bank and SummerSlam pay-per-views are being held on July 2nd and July 30th respectively, so it seems Cena could be gearing up for a match at the latter event. Regarding the negativity surrounding Santam Singh's debut on Dynamite, AEW president Tony Khan claimed that turning the lights out before his appearance was not his idea. I could have done it better. It's one of those things I wish I had done it differently because the fans are always going to be right, so if the fans don't like something, sometimes there is something when you're trying to get heat, so if you're in a trying to get heat situation, people aren't always going to love it, but there are things about it that I probably should have done differently, now that I see in hindsight. To be honest, it wasn't my idea to turn the lights out, but I am the ultimate filter, and who everything goes through. I put the outline of the show together, and when I came in Wednesday, I thought it was the best outline I had ever put together, one of them at least. It was as much strong wrestling as you can fit into the program, and I thought up until that point, the show was excellent. That was the one thing we went off on. People might not have liked it. Santam is an important person for us. It was important to debut him in a meaningful way and to show that with Jay Lethal, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. At the same time, turning the lights off for somebody people didn't recognize, it's a great point. To be honest, the people who brought up turning the lights off has over 30 years of experience in pro wrestling. When they brought it up to me, I was only looking at the pros and I should have thought about the cons, because that is my job as the person who decides what goes in and who filters out these ideas. We have all these people in the room and somehow not one person brought up the negative. When we did it, all the negatives were very obvious. I'm not going to say who it was, and I don't need to list all the credentials of all the great people around me in the production meeting, but it was a lot of veteran people. Nobody said that, and when it happened, I agreed with the fans completely. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.